Let us pray. Eternal God, use our lawmakers today as your instruments. Give them your wisdom so that they can find solutions to the complex problems that beset our nation and world. Lord, strengthen them to serve and honor you by transforming dark yesterdays into bright tomorrows. Keep them from fear and frustration as you equip and empower them to accomplish your will on earth. May they find your guidance throughout this day by seeking you in personal prayer. When they call, answer their petitions, replenish their resources with your peace that passes all understanding. We pray in your omnipotent name. Amen.
Thank you. Will you please join me in the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All righty. Mr. President. Good to see you.
I can see it. Under the previous order, the leadership time is reserved. Morning business is closed. Under the previous order, the Senate will proceed to executive session and resume consideration of the following nomination, which the clerk will report.
Nomination, Department of Defense, Michael Duffy of Virginia to be Undersecretary for Acquisition and Sustainment.
Mr. President,
I recognize the senator from Iowa.
the first Sunday in June is National Cancer Survivor Day. According to the National Cancer Institute, there are 18.1 million cancer survivors in the United States. We've made great strides in recent decades to prevent and to battle cancer. The disease is the second leading cause of death in our country. I know how cancer diagnosis impacts a family. As a result of my wife Barbara's own diagnosis and victory over breast cancer 38 years ago. For sure, early detection and access to treatment saved Barbara's life. Now, Iowa's a rural state. A majority of our states are rural states. And every state in the United States has rural areas in it. And of course, it's difficult to deliver quality health care in rural America, but it is being delivered. To accomplish that, I've championed policies to keep the delivery of health care services accessible in rural America. Access to quality health care should not be determined by your zip code. Keeping rural and community clinics open and telehealth services available is a lifeline for cancer patients. This day, National Cancer Survivor Day, is dedicated to celebrating cancer survivors and acknowledging the struggle and strength it took to overcome the disease. We stand with you. I yield the floor. I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Liz Also Brooks.
Mr. President.
I recognize the Majority Leader.
Mr. President, I ask unanimous consent the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Mr. President, we're entering the 6th month of Republican leadership in Washington. We've already delivered some significant wins for the American people, and there's so much more on the way. When this Congress began, we got right to work getting President Trump's cabinet in place. We confirmed 21 cabinet positions at a faster pace than any administration since George W. Bush. The Republican Senate has confirmed 68 civilian nominees so far this year, the most since the Obama administration. Secretaries, administrators, deputies, undersecretaries, 11 ambassadors to postings around the globe, the most diplomats confirmed at this point since 2001. And our committees continue to work hard to refer additional nominees to the floor. Mr. President, the Senate's also passed a number of bills already this year. In the first few weeks of this year, we took up the Lake and Riley Act, a bill to require that law enforcement detain an illegal immigrant caught shoplifting or stealing. We had an amendment process on the floor, a process that made the bill stronger. And the bill that the Senate ultimately passed and President Trump signed into law requires detention for illegal immigrants who assault law enforcement or seriously injure or kill a person, as well as for those caught stealing, like the illegal immigrant who murdered Lake and Riley last year. We also passed the HALT Fentanyl Act to permanently schedule fentanyl-related substances as the most deadly type of drug and give law enforcement a critical tool to prosecute those who bring these deadly substances into our country and peddle them in our communities. Last month, President Trump signed Senator Cruz's Take It Down Act into law to combat non-consensual explicit images made with AI and shared online. And the Senate is continuing consideration of the Genius Act this week so that the United States can continue to be a leader in financial innovation and Americans can exercise financial freedom with confidence. Mr. President, the Senate has also been working to repeal burdensome Biden-era regulations. We've passed 18 now Congressional Review Act resolutions targeting regulations that would raise costs, destroy jobs, and reduce choice for the American people. That includes resolutions to block President Biden's natural gas tax, eliminate burdensome new standards for appliances, and block the California electric vehicle mandate that would drive up prices and reduce consumer choice across the country. Mr. President, I'm grateful to my Republican colleagues for all the hard work they put in over these past 5 months. We've made excellent progress, but needless to say, there's still a lot more to do, starting with the reconciliation bill we've been working on now for months. This bill is critical to delivering on President Trump's priorities and the promises that we've made to the American people. It will prevent trillions in tax hikes for hardworking families and small businesses. It will invest in our border security to safeguard the progress the Trump administration has already made. And it will strengthen our military and unleash American energy for a stronger and safer America. And as I said yesterday, Mr. President, the Senate will consider the bill on the floor this work period with the goal of getting it on the President's desk before July the 4th. Appropriations season is also upon us, and we'll be working to consider as many appropriations bills as possible under regular order. Work on the annual National Defense Authorization Act is also underway, and I hope Democrats will work with us to move the NDAA and appropriations bills through committee and consider them on the Senate floor. Mr. President, when the American people elected President Trump and a Republican Congress last November, they expected us to deliver. We've worked hard to deliver on our mandate, and we are not taking our foot off the gas. There's too much to do. Mr. President, I yield the floor, and I suggest the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Also-Brooks.
I recognize the senator from Wyoming.
Thank you, Mr. President. I ask unanimous consent that the quorum call be vitiated.
Without objection.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, just yesterday, I heard the minority leader once again misrepresent the Republicans' agenda. Well, with respect, once again, he is wrong. And let me set the record straight, because the Republican agenda is actually very popular. The latest Rasmussen poll was very clear. A majority of Americans believe our country is finally heading in the right direction. This is the highest number of Americans who have graded our country heading in the right direction, basically this century. Why? Because Americans are done with the painful Democrat years of high prices and open borders. The contrast is significant. They are witnessing firsthand the Trump turnaround, and they are actually happy that Republicans are delivering for them after what they've been through for the previous 4 years. Let's take a look at gas prices. Gas prices were 50 cents a gallon cheaper this year than they were Memorial Day last year. So families now save about $10 every time they fill up, and they're going to feel this relief all summer long. And Senate Republicans are adding to the success. We're working on the bold agenda to make America stronger, safer, more prosperous, more affordable. And let me outline why we're doing this and why it's so urgent. Our mission is to stop a $4 trillion tax increase. That would be the biggest tax increase in the history of our country. Every one of the Democrats supports this all-out assault on our wallets, our pocketbooks, on the purses of the people all across the country. We're talking about the largest tax increase in America's history. And our goal is to make these tax cuts permanent. So ignore the scare tactics that we hear from the other side of the aisle. This is a lifeline for middle-class families and for small businesses. This is about allowing people to keep more of what they earn. It is their hard-earned money. We're also going to end taxes on tips. In Wyoming, 10,000 workers will benefit from this. Hardworking waiters, bartenders, tour guides, all of them. We're also going to make sure that police officers, firefighters will owe no taxes on overtime. Seniors will keep more of their Social Security. Small business owners will keep more of their earnings. We will also relieve them of these incredible paperwork burdens that are a drag on their ability to build their businesses. Republicans will also strengthen and preserve Medicaid for the Americans who need it the most. This means 1.4 million illegal immigrants will stop receiving taxpayer-funded Medicaid benefits. It was never intended for them. It's wrong. Benefits like that don't belong to them. These people are in the country illegally. They should not be benefiting from the work of hardworking Americans. Democrats want to keep all these benefits flowing to all these illegal immigrants. Well, that makes it harder for the American medical patients to get to see a doctor. I know, I practiced medicine for a long time, took care of lots of Medicaid patients. What the Democrats have done to Medicaid and now illegal immigrants receiving it, over 1 million, is making it harder for the American public to get to see a doctor. To bring prices down, we're actually focusing much, much more on American energy and producing American energy that was under attack in the last administration by Biden and the Democrats. Affordable, reliable American energy is going to lower costs for people. It will bring down the cost of heating your home. It will bring down the cost of filling the tank. You know, with all the artificial intelligence breakthroughs, we need more energy to power those data centers. This is going to be done with American manufacturing. To win the AI race that we're now in against China, we need more energy, not less. Republican policies will make America energy dominant once again. Republican policies will also invite the world to build and invest right here at home in America. No more outsourcing our energy or our innovation or our destiny. Americans will be in charge. On border security, Republicans are resolute. We'll finish the wall, deport criminal illegal immigrants, and stop the flood of illegal fentanyl that is destroying and killing communities around our country. Border Patrol agents will get the tools and the backup that they need, as well as the pay that they deserve. These are strong measures, and they will secure the border. Sunday, just 2 days ago, there was a terrorist attack in Boulder, Colorado. And it is a sad reminder of the stakes. The terrorist was in the country illegally. He was here because of open border policies of the Biden administration and the Democrats, one they want to continue. Every Senate Democrat right now in this body has voted to keep the borders open and opposed securing the borders. This terrorist overstayed his visa. Joe Biden and the Democrats never kicked him out. Actually, they gave him a work permit. And even that is expired. And what do we know now? We know that investigators have found that he has planned his hateful anti-Semitic attack and was planning it for over a year. And he targeted Jews. He screamed, "Free Palestine." 12 people were injured. 8 were hospitalized. Among the victims was an 88-year-old Holocaust survivor. This is the human cost of dangerous Democrat policies. Republicans will make our cities sanctuaries of safety, not sanctuary cities, not dens of crime and chaos, which is what Democrats have welcomed. Republicans are also rebuilding our military might. Our bold legislation will make our military the strongest fighting force in the world. Our military will be lethal, intimidating, and ready to fight. We're also investing in the Golden Dome for America. This revolutionary missile shield is vital for our nation's security. It's going to stop a deadly threat from adversaries who want to threaten the American people and our nation as a whole. That is deterrence. That is restoring peace through strength. This is the bold Republican agenda that we are fighting for: cutting taxes on tips and overtime and Social Security, stopping the largest tax increase in history, strengthening and preserving Medicaid, ending taxpayer-funded benefits for illegal immigrants, securing our borders, creating safer communities, providing for a strong national defense, and once again making America energy dominant. Democrats oppose all of these improvements to our nation. Why are Democrats for open borders? I wish they'd come down and explain it. Why are Democrats for a $4 trillion tax increase? I'm waiting for them to speak up. Why are Democrats for taxpayer-funded health care for 1.4 million illegal immigrants? I'll tell you why. It's because they're absolutely out of touch with the American people. Americans voted to get the country back on track. Senate Republicans are getting it done. And we are building a future of safety and prosperity for all Americans. Thank you, Mr. President. I yield the floor and note the app.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsobrooks.
Mr. President.
Recognize the Minority Leader.
We are. I ask unanimous consent the quorum be dispensed with.
Without objection.
So on anti-Semitism, the attack in Colorado the shooting in Washington, the arson in Pennsylvania have one thing in common. The assailants have cited anti-Israel sentiment as justification for their violence. They have, in other words, used the actions of the Israeli government they don't like to justify violence against Jewish Americans here at home. This is, unfortunately, a growing trend since October 7th. As the highest-ranking Jewish elected official in American history, I have watched with growing alarm as a poisonous ideology, ancient in its roots, but modern in its mutations, has spread across our country. We are witnessing, in real time, the resurgence of collective blame against the Jewish people. And if we do not confront it clearly, unequivocally, and together, we risk opening the door to even darker days. Now, I've said it. I've said that it is legitimate and not anti-Semitic to peacefully protest and criticize the actions of any government, including the Israeli government. But there's a profound and dangerous difference between criticizing a government and condemning an entire people. The idea that Jews everywhere be responsible for the policies of the Israeli government is not only false, it plays on one of the oldest forms of anti-Semitism out there, blaming the Jews collectively for the world's problems. Whether it's blaming the Jews for the death of Christ, blaming Jews for bringing in immigrants as part of the conspiracy theory of great replacement, or blaming the Jews for actions of the Israeli government that one may not like, it is all the same, a pretext for hate. I have long warned that if we aren't careful, what starts as legitimate critiques against the Israeli government can easily slip into something far more sinister. If disagreements are allowed to morph into intolerance, if intolerance is permitted to spread and linger, if bigoted voices are allowed to take over legitimate debates, history shows that the threat of violence is never too far away. I fear history is beginning to whisper its warnings once again. Our nation has been strongest when it has stood against bigotry in all forms. Let us summon that strength again. The way forward is very clear. All Americans of goodwill must stand together to condemn anti-Semitism and all forms of intolerance, no matter where it rears its ugly head. Let us remember what America is all about and who we are. On health care. Donald Trump and his so-called big, beautiful bill is ugly to its very core. Behind the smoke and mirrors lies a cruel and draconian truth. Tax breaks for the ultra-wealthy, paid for by gutting health care for millions of Americans. Over the past few days, Donald Trump has tried to sell this bill to Republican senators with a new lie. He's been telling Republican senators and the American people that no one will lose coverage, that no benefits will be slashed, that the bill won't harm recipients. Let's call it what it is, a lie. People will lose coverage. Millions will. Donald Trump is lying to the American people when he says no one will lose coverage under this ugly bill. There is no way for Republicans to seek the cuts they want without removing millions of people off their health care in one way or another. I warn my Republican colleagues, do not buy Donald Trump's snake oil sales pitch. Republicans want to cut out waste, fraud, and abuse? Good. We'll help them do it. This bill certainly isn't that. Make no mistake, this big, beautiful bill is in reality repeal and replace a huge and growing demand for new energy. We're going to need 10 times as much electricity to continue powering breakthroughs in artificial intelligence. which isn't going away anytime soon. But with their bill, Republicans want to cut off one of the major ways, the newest, cheapest, and fastest growing way to produce new energy, because they want to tax new clean electricity, stifling the supply of new energy, putting us at risk of falling behind in AI to countries like China. And what would the Republican plan mean for average American family or small business? Simple: higher energy costs. To the American people, I say, if this bill passes, your electricity costs are going up. Look at the facts. The Republican plan will increase average national electricity prices by about 10%. The Republican plan will increase total household energy costs by $32 billion. That means American families will pay $32 billion more, all to please the ideological blindness of the fossil fuel industry. And that's not to mention that the Republican plan would cost America about 800,000 jobs by 2030, all across America in red states and blue states. What a terrible price to pay just to lower taxes for the ultra-rich, just to line the pockets of the fossil fuel industry, to satisfy the ideological hatred that fossil fuel industry has for clean energy, and to lose out on American energy dominance. On Iran. Yesterday, I called out President Trump for, on the one hand, telling the public his goal is to fully dismantle Iran's nuclear facilities, but then, on the other hand, secretly negotiating a side deal that will allow the Iranian regime to keep enriching. Well, it looks like we got his attention, because he followed up by denying this report in an all-caps tweet storm. The old saying is, trust but verify. In this case, Congress must verify. The administration must clarify what they might be hiding from the American people in this secret side deal. Steve Witkoff and those negotiating this deal should testify before Congress and answer a simple question. Is there a secret side deal that will allow the Iranian regime to continue enriching uranium and that empowers the regime's nefarious activity, or not? Any deal between the U.S. and Iran must be one Congress can fully and transparently evaluate. I yield the floor. Note the absence of a quorum.
The clerk will call the roll.
Ms. Alsop-Brooks.
I recognize the senator
I ask
from
unanimous
Illinois.
consent that the quorum call be suspended.
Without objection.
Mr. President, last month the Senate voted to proceed to the Genius Act, a bill that would regulate the type of cryptocurrency called stable coins. Stable coins are supposed to tie the value of crypto to the value of a dollar. But in 2023 alone, stable coins differed from the value of a dollar more than 600 times. Not only are stable coins and cryptocurrencies volatile, but the industry has a reputation for scams and fraud. The Federal Bureau of Investigation, FBI, recently reported that last year, 2024, crypto-related crime was up 66%, and Americans lost, now get this, $9.3 billion to crypto scammers. Nearly 150,000 complaints were filed involving crypto fraud, including more than 6,000 in my home state of Illinois. How does it work? Your mom's at home, and in comes a phone call. And the person on the phone call says, Mrs. D, I work for so-and-so, usually a government agency, and I'm calling you to alert you that you missed your jury duty this month. You were supposed to show up to the courthouse to serve on a jury, and you didn't show up. And of course, your mom knows nothing about that and says, oh, I didn't see that I was supposed to be there. Yes, the legal notice was sent to you, and now a fine is going to be imposed on you for failing to show up for jury duty. Oh my, how much? $5,000. You can pay that fine and you don't have to go to trial. Well, how am I going to pay that fine? You're going to go to the local grocery store at the exit to an ATM, crypto ATM machine. How many of those do we have in the United States? 30,000 crypto ATM machines? You may not have noticed them in the store, but as you're checking out many times, there they sit. And what is your mom supposed to do when she goes to this grocery store, to the crypto ATM machine? She's supposed to deposit $5,000 and sometimes much, much more into this machine so that she's buying a stable coin. But she doesn't get the stable coin. She directs it to the wallet of the scammer. So she's out $5,000 or more, thinking that she's paying a fine to avoid a trial, and because she didn't show up for jury duty she didn't know anything about. Does that sound preposterous? It's not. It happens over and over and over again. These crypto ATM machines are the vehicles that are used for defrauding people, primarily senior citizens, to put in thousands and thousands of dollars and never get any pennies back because it's all phony, it's all a scam. More than a third of all filed complaints involving crypto fraud were filed by Americans over the age of 50. Many of these scams were facilitated using these crypto ATM machines. You may be wondering what a crypto ATM is. You pass by them at the store, your place of business, and you may not have noticed